Thank you very much. Once again, let me take this opportunity to welcome you back at this meritocratic channel of ours. And this channel is called MATRIC+NATED Specialist. Ensure that you are hitting the subscription button and ensure that you are sharing to those who are concerned. Without wasting any time, today we are going to look at grade 11 geography under this module. Ensure that we are also tuning on in the previous videos which we have entailed pertaining to this. And then without wasting any time, we are going to talk about the development geography. And then remember that when we're talking about this development geography, there is indeed a where we have explained it on our previous video, and you must have a full concept and overview of the development, which will be vital in the third term. What is meant by this term development, I've highlighted it here, of the people, and then according to learn that of the money that a country is having, but it also have some other aspect pertaining to this. Then we must understand and improve the quality of the people's be happy to learn. We must, and the dependent that are the interdependent. It means that they don't depend on something to happen. And under this, we give a, and then we are saying development economic, cultural, social levels in terms of the development, so that it is about an improvement. Number two, we must be able to reduce poverty and improve the quality of people's life, which it can be for a maximum of 6 marks that I've written here. And then we also understand that development includes, or it talks about the two aspects that we must consider, and in terms of the improvement of life of people. So when we are improving people's life, number one, we are saying that the standard of living, it must improve. So let us also understand, when we are talking about the quality of life in terms of the improvement, we refer to the standard of living. It is the value of the possessions, what we are having, and the savings in your banks, the types of home, the type of the live, and in the weather, their own items such as washing machine, television, car, telephone, and computers. And then we are talking about the quality of life in the general well-being of a person, which may include the standard of living, but also it is affected by the education, healthcare, services, utilities, environment, social and political, religion, freedom. So we are also to take note that you must also name these 6, and then you have to get now your 6 marks, and you also have to distinguish between these two aspects. And then what I've highlighted there, just to even explain it further, we are saying that a country's wealth comes from the ability to develop its own resources and produce goods and services, and the income that may be earned from providing goods and services to other country, which we refer to as the exports. And then remember, we have said that in the exports, that is where we are having, or that is where we are having the foreign exchange. And then we need to understand that the development of resources, of goods and services make up the economy of the country in terms of the GDP and the GNP. We also need to understand that the economic can be divided into sectors or economic activities that they must take place. So we need to distinguish between these activities now. Remember that these are the activities that I'm talking about. They are important pertaining to this. And then under these economic sectors, we've got what we call primary economic activities. And then we have secondary economic activities. We've got the tertiary activities, and then we've got the quaternary activities, which is subdivided into 2. And then we have to understand that in primary activities, we are saying that the extraction of natural resources such as mining, quarrying, agriculture, fishing, forestry, and hunting, they take place. And when they take place, we are to produce what we call the secondary activities. So in the secondary, that is where we manufacture or we process of the raw materials and manufactures of the own products. And then under the tertiary sectors, we talk about where tangible or physical products are not made. However, service industries assist in manufacturing, such as banking, transport, or the insurance. That is a tertiary activity. Also, the production now of electricity, it is one of the tertiary. And then when we are talking about the other one, let us also understand that we've got the quaternary economic activity. We are saying they deal with the research and the development needed to produce products from natural resources. It is concerned with providing information and expertise. So there must be experts that are there to do their job. And then let us understand we've got the quinary economic activities, which derives from the quaternary. So we are saying this is the highest level on decision making in terms of the society or in the economic nature, and they are in a maximum of 10 marks. And then let us also understand here, we are to look at the economic classification of the countries. So remember that we've got the less economic developed country, which are called the LEDC. So we are saying these countries are countries such as Zimbabwe and then Lesotho. So we are saying they are less in terms of the development. And then we've got the NIC, the newly industrialized economy. And then we have also the MEDC, the more economically developed country. And then in this instinct, we need to understand that in the less developed country, we are also anticipating the primary activity is dominant. So we are saying that the excretion of the raw materials, if we understood the concept, and then of primary activity, we have got to overview that the fishing and forestry, they are taking place, and the mechanization on farms, they are low because of these people, they don't have enough space, and therefore they are not formal or in terms of having knowledge on how to become strategic in terms of agricultural practices. And then let us ensure that we understand in early stages of the economic development. And then we need also to understand that the informal services in the sector in the city is quite strong. Newly industrialized economy, we are saying that there's a strong manufacturing sector. So it means now the secondary activity is taking place, and many or more transitional move to the NIC2, which here it can be for 4 marks, but here in the less we are saying it can be 8 marks. And then let us understand in more economic developed country, also known as the MDC. So we are saying that automation of the manufacturing or transfer of the manufacturing to the NICs, and there is very strong tertiary sector with large number of employed in health, education, and tourism. And then let us understand that we've got the growth of, and then we are saying that it can be in a maximum now of 6 marks if we are to understand this concept very well. If ever we are moving on again, we are to see that we have to understand now why aim for the development. So why we should aim as a country for the development collectively and individually. So we are saying that the Millennium Development Goals, which is known as the MDG, provide a framework for the whole world to work together towards making sure that human development reaches everyone and everywhere. And then number 2, we need also to understand that the MDG, which is the Millennium Development Goals, were set to be achieved by 2015. And then we are saying if these goals are met, the world poverty will be cut by half, millions of lives will be saved, and billions or more people will have the opportunity to benefit in the global economy, and that it can be for 6 marks as I've stipulated it there. And then when we are moving on again, concept pertaining to our work, to say now, number 1 here, we are having, if we can zoom very well so that we can see, number 1, they eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. So we are saying that they develop to eradicate poverty. The development. Number 2, to achieve universal primary education, to say there must be education, people must be literate. And then number 3, let us understand that empower the humans, which now they have been left out in the previous years. And then let us understand the child mortality. So we are saying that the child must also be saved in this coordination. And then we are saying that to improve the maternal health is there also to improve the maternal health. This is the Millennium Goals, which must be established. And then let us understand that they are there to combat HIV and AIDS, malaria, and other diseases. As we have seen also in COVID-19, they played a big role by ensuring that they give PEEs to millions of people. And then let us understand that they ensure that there is an environmental sustain. And then let us understand that number 8, the global partnership, it is for the development. So these are the ideologies and goals of the Millennium Development Goals. They seek to improve these in particularly in life. So that can be for 16 marks. If we are going on again, we must see and we have to understand now this particular concept where we are talking about why is development unequal. So remember that according to the own ideologies that we have developed pertaining to the constitution, we have said that everybody is equal into the eyes of the law and everyone must receive equal services and benefits within the jurisdiction of the state, but would find that this is not the case. Development, the idea of development is being a sliding scale. It is a sliding scale. It is known as the development continuum. We are saying that there is no right or wrong way to approach development, with countries developing in different ways and at different speeds. Number 2, that has been most visible in society, in social rather than economic matters. And then number 3, the developing countries have found it difficult to achieve the same sort of economic success that richer nations have. And then number 4, the advances that poorer countries have made in health, mortality has been dropped, and life expectancy is much longer in the developing countries, and that it can be for a maximum of 8 marks. If we are going on again, we must also understand that we must talk about the social, the economical, and spatial aspect of this development. So in this, we are going to see the map in the following figure 71. It shows the branded line. So this is the line that divides the world into the MEDC, mostly in the northern, and the less developed country, which are in the southern. So they are divided by what we call the branded line. Okay. And then we also need to understand that we've got the key concept that we need to discuss pertaining this branded line. So we are saying that this is the figure that we are given. And then we are seeing that this line in reddish, it is the branded line that is stipulated in red here. So we are saying this line, it is sharing for countries that are in the southern hemisphere, which are more poorer in this region or less developed. And then here is more developed countries in the northern side. So how can we see that the other countries developed and the other, it is not developed by this particular overview? So what we need to understand is that in more developed countries, we've got high GDP, the low and the pen, and the export males. So we need to understand that whatever is happening in the north, in the south, it is negatively so, because of we've got the low expectancy there of the GNP contributing to the development of the country. And then we are saying what is important, we need to understand. Moving on again, we are to see that we need to understand now the concept, how now this development is determined. We need to understand how this development is determined now. Okay, before we are moving there, we've got to discuss now aspect pertaining to the appropriate scales and sustainable development. So remember that if ever we are developed as a country, we must also sustain for the future generations so that they can have that sustainable development. It means that meeting the needs now of the present population without compromising the opportunity open. Number 2, we also need to discuss the aspect of the use of the appropriate sustainable technologies vital to keep developing communities from overusing natural resources such as coal fuel. That is for 4 marks. Let us also understand that we have a vision. So we are saying that number 1, the methods suited to the local people and the environment in which they live. Number 2, does not impose Western ideology on development. Number 3, addresses a basic human need like access to clean drinking water. Number 4, sustainable materials. Number 5, appropriate to cultural aspect of local community. Number 6, making daily tasks simpler. Number 7, no excessive resources required. And then number 8, increased of living standards. And then in the examination, they can seek. Okay. And then let us understand that in this instinct, we also need to move on pertaining to this particular work, how developed now development is determined. So we are saying that some regions are better off than others. This is called the regional disparity because it deals with an inequality inequality between different areas. So we need to have a set of indicators showing these particular differences. And then we also need to understand this concept very well, as it is one of the key concepts in the examination. And then we also need to understand this concept that deals with the development indicators. So we are saying these indicators, they are what the GDP does this country contribute, and which effect does it going to have on the social and the human development, also contained in this level of development. Remember that in earlier we have said that development, it is not about wealth only, but it is about also technological developments. And then let us understand that the economic development, we are saying that is called the measurable, and that GA, that our parity economic services produced for the final use in a year. And then the GDP considers only the workers and capital spent within the nation, while the GNP considers the workers and capital spent by citizens of the nation, regardless where they live. So that is the difference. And if you are moving on again, we are to see that the disadvantage now is that does not show all the differences wealth within a country, and the PPP is the level of the cost of living. Okay, and then let us discuss now the human and the social development. So we are saying that development, it also talks about the human and the social development must be entailed. And then number one, let us understand that the physical quality of the life index. And then let us talk about the human development index, which is the HDI. And we also discuss the what we call the Gini core. Understand that the PQLI is the advantage of the three variables, which is the literacy, the life expectancy, and infant mortality. The HDI, it takes account on the economic and social development. Is recorded as a score from 0 to 1, and is being 1 being the most developed index, ranging from 0 to a global standard for calculation. So when we are talking about global, it is not happening also in that country, only in that country, but it's happening globally. And you calculate the disparity, which it is also stipulated in the Gini coefficient, which will also discuss it more. And then let us talk about the limit. In many countries, the Gini coefficient could not be calculated. And then let us talk about now the demographic development. So we are talking about the life expectancy. So this is an average lifespan in years a person it is expected to live. And then we talk about the infant mortality, the numbers of infants death per 1,000 in a year. And then let us talk about life expectancy. We are saying this is the one of the traditional indicators of the health in the developed world. People are living longer. In Japan, people are expected to live 8 years on average. In Zimbabwe, Mozambique, people are expected to live 36 years because of what they are by heart. It can be in a maximum now of 20 marks. Here we are going now to check in terms of the world. In terms one, it is an interpretation in terms of the world. So number 4, here we are going to check about how the development compared on local, regional, and global scales, and then the growth and the development become concentrated on few favored location, leaving other in comparison. So this is the global scale. We are saying that countries that are at the east side, the southern side, they are less developed, and they are in greenish part here. And then in northern part, you can see that these parts are developed. So they are showing now the infant mortality rate. It shows on this country to say how many people have died. So high income earners display the low infant mortality rate. They've got access to medical care, and smaller families to ensure that the lower levels of infant mortality. So in low income countries, they have a high infant mortality rate. For me and my crew, I'm saying thank you very much for your time. Ensure that you are hitting the subscription button at the bottom and sharing to those who are concerned. At MATRIC+NATED Specialist, good luck for your exam.